It's September 10th, 2021. Alright, so whose genetics and DNA come through every effing time like Mike Tyson in a boxing ring? I'm sitting there with my little epigenetic, my Copenhagen Scandinavian copy of my own chromosome that I made without interference by humans, that I call Anthony T for you. 2012, my Mayan calendar, baby. Has nothing to do with 1975 other than the amount of personal mental damage that he's experiencing. I said to him, he said he drew something. Now I know as well as he does, star children, especially superfluent, driven, tied to my Rubicon lexicon, in this anapomorphic, perturbed, turbulent amplexus. He drew me a beautiful something. I'm just making a note of how beautiful you drew me the painting, my love. So, can you just wave? Can you just wave? Can I take a picture or no? Can I just put you on camera for a second? Can you just say you did it?
I did it.
Look at me. Thank you. Okay, good, thanks. So that's my son. And so he drew, first of all, he did his math equations. And then after his math equations, he drew me a tetra inside a Rubicon lexicon iconic structure that he and I are built within. He then has a second set of tetra that's exposed to the outside elements, where he made a cat for some reason. And then he's got his tree here. Now what's really interesting is he and I do not speak of, on surface world, I do not speak to him on regular basis with my superfluous vocabulary, shall we call it, of knowing things. He stays for the most part. I stay with limited interactions when need be, which is what the tetra anagram, it's incredibly important. It's crop circle worthy, especially around this section where he has his mom as the cat and his brother Alexander. And then he's got this over here. And the dimensions between back up and forward up is incredibly important within the numerics and alpha numerical substrate of that particular multiplication set. Today's September 10th, 2021. I'm Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken for my anagram and animate, as well as Antonucci and as well as Alexander. They have, I just had a phone call. I'm in Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. And it's Nicole Cattaruzza, star 1978, star 8378. I had a gentleman just call me on my number from Health First, HEALTHFIRST. And I'm like, I've gotten robotic calls and I've gotten human calls before from this, always asking for Virginia Alvarado. So I say to the gentleman, now I know in this substrate of brokenness of the matrix, of the large celestial system being off, in order to build this amplexus, they had to have numeric values in order to subroute my journey and know where they were. They knew what the costs were at superinfection. They knew what they were gunning for lack of a better term, by pushing me off into a really dangerous position based on the fact that I'm the icon. I mean, you literally have me trapped in a pyramid, like prism substrate. So now, away from what completes the tetra into a safe mannerism, Alexander was a forfeit of a previous event on the 11s, and Alexander appeared on the 11s in a different substrate format, which is how our Giza pyramid, you have two pyramids that are in perfect alignment. That's me, and if I'm mother of earth, he's father of time, whomever, at the same time, at the same genetic chronological size range. And then Alexander comes as the Giza pyramid that's just slightly off. He's not off within his own self, because he's not human, but the storyline had to be moved because of the humans and whatever they're pushing for in this environmental problem at celestial level. So somebody called me, and he was from Brooklyn, about Virginia Alvarez. So on the, he says, well, you understand what healthcare is, or health first is. And I said, no, I don't really know what it is, but you humans have a way of saying things and misleading each other. So I'm just like, right. Yeah, okay, so it's health, some form of whatever you all consider as health. I was like, so, and then him and I talked about it, and I'm like, listen, in superfluous, what was the key word of the day? I was like, turbulence and perturbed situations. There's one point of contention. I was like, and then it is for the few. There's a few points of contention, which seem to be shot. I was like, the New York Stock Exchange has FUTs, F-U-T. We used to call them, what are you futzing around? F-U-T-Z. Futzing around, you better know what the fuck you're doing. Because so far I have not seen humans futz and ever get anything fucking right. So now they're futzing on the New York Stock Exchange with futures. Well, what are they doing on the futures? I know they sell commodities like corn, sugar, then they have the Farmer's Almanac, and then they've got something called futures. Well, what are they selling in the futures? It's almost like they're shooting statistical data analysis into the wrong points of contention in the future, aiming for something wrong that will break something, but they have enough pulling in the behind of what they've built in order when they break the future, all the shards of glass on that glass ceiling they broke will just fall on the public, cut them all to pieces, but at least they have a nice cushy insurance policy. I was like, it's the wrong way to run things. I mean, that's running a super infection. You're literally running the United States of America like a super infectious disease company. And it's unacceptable. I'm not agreeing that this is the correct way to run any anatomical system or any planetary system. I want out of being harmed and put in harm's way since I'm the icon. Now, where do I let anybody know that in for real? Just curious. Star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. So, this man knows that, and he says he gets together with other humans in something called a Red Hook, Brooklyn, in something called an ice house, which I've never even heard of these things before he's mentioned them. I said, no, I said, I'm somewhere in Queens and I'm on foot and we don't have access to such things. I said, if there's something called an inlet or something called an outlet, or if there's something called an entry point, I've never been given entry, inlet, or outlet in order to voice my anything to any societal group. I was like, I had a very different story. I said I had a situation arise, then a child, and then it went to reclusivity of just whatever. I was like, so I never got the opportunity to meet community or group or have an outlet, inlet, or whatever in order to discuss these items. And so, anyway, so he was like, he's like, yeah, well, he says, well, I have one. He says, and we get together, he says, but the thing is that we discuss them, but we never get to any kind of resolution. I'm like, yeah, it's human. I mean, like, what else do you want from me? So, I mean, at a human level, you're never going to resolve it. All you're going to get is agreement that it's broken, and then there's got to be a better way. But sometimes the better way is I got to fix it, and then tell you what the new system's going to look like. I'm not telling you what the new system's going to look like before I get there, because it doesn't work that way. So now, these points of contention, it's like they shoot the futs out to purposely break the few that they've got, and they're holding on to them like lines to a Thanksgiving Day parade float during a Chicago windy storm down Fifth Avenue, like tornado conditions. And what they're doing is they're pulling on these and pulling the future in these directions. But as you get that, you're putting these points of contention into glass. And now you have multiple spots on the glass that you've punctured. And as you pull harder from past to future, all the glass shards just come falling down. And last time I checked, humans don't have a way to mend glass. Absolutely not. Well, I'm not going into windshields and whatever stupid shit they do for windshields. The normal human, it breaks its windshield. It has to call someone else who has some higher industry standard that can mend glass. It's the same effing thing. I just happen to be the one on cue and an icon that everybody just keeps ignoring. It's Catwoman. It's Batman. It's kind of a big deal, especially at DC Marvel Comics. I don't understand why DC, the actual place, is so not on board. What are they boarding on their ship to, like, the love boat to nowhere, except divorce and absolute... It's humiliation is what it is. That's where they've taken. I even said to the guy, he's like, so I hope you got out of that marriage. And I go, the first one? Yeah, that was not a problem. I was like, but it's the second one. It didn't really, I mean, it was for whatever. I was like, here's the thing. There's a man somewhere in Germany and France, in Cologne. Oh my God, it is like a marriage, like the sanctity and relationship and marriage, like the way Prince Charming and the princess riding off into the sunset in a perfect world. Oh, that's how I was sold on what human life and adulthood would be like. But what actually transpired is more of an American piece of toilet paper on the bottom of my shoe as I walk through a public restroom. And now I gotta try and get it off. And it's not coming off, and now I gotta touch it. And that's what America's marriage looks like in New York in the year 2021. It's like, oh, don't touch me. I don't want to touch you. God only knows where you've been all day. Ah. Wow. I see why you humans kept pushing for big insurance companies, the stock market, and this dumb, fucking useless everyday existence. I mean, talk about a species at super infection level? Wow! Anything intelligent elsewhere. I'm like, it's hard to preserve the American sanctity of marriage when they're pushing me into a American Toads situation in Amplexus, where I'm carrying the mail on my back, and they're like, here, you know what, I got a friend Johnny, he's jumping on, and then you just keep walking, and when you collapse, then maybe We'll figure something else out. I collapsed. I already collapsed. I'm broken. I'm on the floor. I'm looking for Prince Charming and that sunset that I was sold before I got to this version of human.